Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome to All Things Social Security. I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at Joy Disability. Welcome to the channel, and I hope you enjoy the video. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. I am really late here getting through YouTube posts and stuff. And, when occasionally when I see someone that has a question that would be suitable for sharing to all of you, because it's could be informative for similarly situated people. I do that. So here's one that I thought was good, and I am answering Trish in person. I mean, in writing against her post, but I thought I'd also make a video out of it and share it to her as well. So basically, it involves a person who has had over 20 jobs in the last 3 years and have moved to different towns 10 times, I think, in that same period of time, all due to emotional instability. One question is, what kind of proof would this person need to start a case? Uh, the person really doesn't want to be on disability, but family is telling him that, it might be that he's a liability to those companies who have invested in hiring him and training him just to lose him without explanation after a few months. By the way, that's not really a legal basis for why you would apply, because the consideration is not about how these employers feel about the liability. The bigger point is that the inability to keep the job uh, is the part that might prove that he cannot sustain employment. By sustain employment, guys, we mean 6 months or more. I would also add that if that's a situation that's happening to somebody and they're never lasting up to 6 months due to the disabilities that are yet to be proven, and if they have more than a month in between each next new job, this could almost be the kind of situation, and this is a little aside, but Trish, maybe this will help. You could almost go back all the way to when that whole inability to start to sustain work for at least 6 months started. If there's ever a gap of less than a month between two work stints, that doesn't count as a suitable gap. So those two work stints would be one big period, and that would probably go over 6 months, unless the person's doing like a month here, a month there. But just something to keep in mind when you're thinking about your onset date, you got to go through those nitpicky little numbers and dates. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't really care about the companies and their liability. They're the professionals. They know what employees are like, and uh, particularly if it's not a high-paying job, they're not going to invest a lot, and they get what they pay for. And that's not to say your husband doesn't do a fantastic job when he's there, I'm sure. Um, of course, the indication is that, doesn't mean to lose control, of course. That's the whole point. I mean, if he meant to do it, then that would probably not be a disability, but a choice. Not really an impairment. It could be an impairment, but not one that would really suffice for disability, because the person made a choice. It's when it's outside their choice. Like they get impulsive and they just can't control the impulsivity is often what it is. The question is, should we start a case? How much would he be able to work while he's applying? I'll go to the how much would he be able to work while he's applying first. Under SGA, and I suggest under trial work period amount. I think trial work period this year is $1,210. I would suggest staying under that if you can. But by any means, do not even flirt with SGA, which is much higher at $1,690 a month. I would suggest, in a perfect world, you stay under trial work period. It protects you. Because the ones he does now, if they're ever put into his disability period and he prevails, he might be booted right out of his trial work period. Still will have disability, but there's a lot of ramifications from you. Remember, when you flip out of your trial work period, you start your extended period of eligibility for 3 years, and you can lose back months of Social Security disability for every month, if you made too much that month over SGA by accident. And then after the 3 years expires, boom, the very next time you work accidentally over SGA, you're off the ranks of the disabled. You don't have to reapply. So don't flirt with SGA. And if you can afford to be under TWP, by all means do it. And if he's working for an employer, I mean, I always suggest if it's with an employer, well, I prefer to see less than 15 hours a week, 15 or less. Reasonable minds can differ on that. I have people that do 20. And it's all going to depend, of course, on your wage, because if you have a higher wage, you're not going to be able to get away with 20 hours a week. I also suggest if he has trouble pulling an 8-hour day and keeping his cool, walk the walk with that, and don't have him take shifts that are more than, say, 4 or 5 hours. And I know that's not always easy to come by. Going back to the question, where was it? What kind of proof would we need to start a case? I would say weekly or more. I assume he's treating for this. I mean, if you know you have a problem and you're losing your jobs, it's kind of worthwhile to treat for it, right? So probably weekly or better psychotherapy to get this under control. If he's on medications that are the type that treat this kind of severe consequences of mental health challenges, I mean, think about it. It's preventing him from doing, you're trying to prove that he can't do even a basic, simple, easy job. Basic, simple, easy. I always see third grade jobs. Sorry if that offends any third graders. I don't mean to. So you have to kind of walk the walk. You have to have, I don't know his age, so I don't know his vocational profile. I'm going to assume he's young, like under 50. But if he's not, I would tailor this a little differently. Because you don't mention physical things, so he's obviously not physically disabled from all jobs. It's the mental. He probably does have some physical impairments, maybe minor. They're relevant, but they're not going to win his case if he's under 50. And you have to prove, and this is what I think what you're trying to get at, that for mental reasons, he can do no job full time. I assume he's not doing high stress jobs already, because then they'd say, well, duh, go to a low stress job. You have to know also that there are jobs out there, simple, so they're considered unskilled, that a lot of times people with mental health struggles who can still negotiate their community and speak to their family and do little things on a non-stressful basis, okay, they're probably not going to be found to be unable to do all jobs in the economy, because they're going to be deemed to be able to do unskilled jobs, perhaps one that doesn't have to interact with coworkers or the public. There are no jobs where you don't have to interact with a supervisor. They all require that at least occasionally you have to properly deal with a supervisor. And they try to, I would say a lot of the SSA tries to avoid ever acknowledging that a person with significant mental health struggles of interacting with people on the job can't properly interact with a supervisor occasionally. And we have some opinions on that. And I've made these arguments before, and I often make them to the VA. It's not an argument to the VA. I incorporate them into a question. I'm sorry, VE did I say VA? I've got veteran on the brain. That's because it's Friday. So I say something like this, like if a judge gives a hypothetical where the person can only occasionally interact with the supervisor, I've asked the VE, is the claimant allowed to pick and choose which times, or is it like because even if it was occasional, but if there's no set time, what if that's the 2/3 of the time when he can't, 2/3, the majority of the time he can't properly and reliably interact with the supervisor? What's to say the supervisor doesn't approach him at the 2/3 of the day and not the 1/3? How's the supervisor going to know? Is the supervisor going to be willing to tiptoe around him until it's the right time? I mean, we know that's not going to happen. Any VE will tell you that that will not be acceptable. So it is pretty funny when they find that if someone is limited to occasionally being able to interact, only occasionally being able to interact with the supervisor, that they are nonetheless able to do a job that has a supervisor, which all jobs do. So that's kind of more of a an argument point that many of us litigation types that do our hearings argue about. But I think you want to make sure there is psychotherapy and that he's been regularly going for quite some time. I mean, months at a minimum. And I would do that before I would file. Then he should, going back to the work, keep work into that, no 8-hour shifts. Ideally, if that's the kind of thing that raises his stress level as he goes along and his ability to control his impulsivity. If what was the other thing I was going to say here? Sorry, there was some noise out there. Yeah, the treatment with the psychotherapist and medications are really important. And I think I just mentioned this before. A lot of times people try medications and kind of a proof that they're not working well because you're still having this bad interaction with other people. There will be a history of them completely being tweaked all the time, different cocktail, mixing up. If he's not taking any medications, it's not going to look good. And I know there's reasons why not to. They don't feel good for a lot of people. They feel like blah, like they got nothing. But the problem is you're basically saying my problem isn't so bad that I need it. Because if problem is so bad that you need it, you're willing to put up with the blah. But of course, the blah could be a reason why you talk to the psychiatrist or the MD, DO, or nurse practitioner that's qualified to prescribe the mental health medicines part, because the psychologist and the therapist will not be able to do that, generally speaking. That's probably still true in all states. So you want to be able to show that the person is doing everything they can to improve their capacity to be a self-sustaining adult. And if someone is not willing to, then they're kind of choosing to be disabled, is the way it's going to optically look. So consider those things. Obviously, if there's physical problems, like I don't know how old he is, does he have bad knees, bad ankles, has he had any surgeries on any joints, bad back, those you all want to start working up with a specialist in that area. And obviously also report them to the PCP, keep the appointments regular, and follow up and be willing to do the therapies that are prescribed. That could be physical therapy, whatever. If he's under 50, again, that is not going to win him the cake. He's going to have to win almost entirely on the mental. And again, the only way to go forward that way is with really strong mental health treatment records. And note also, I don't know if you watch this channel a lot, but there is a big, big problem. And I see this I do all states and I see it everywhere. So it's not restricted to one territory. Mental health providers can be very, very difficult, some of them, in refusing to provide the psychotherapy records that even show that the person has problems. All they say is, I'm treating him for impulsivity or anger management or whatever it is. And then nothing. It's like, all right, well, so what? Most people in society either are seeing a therapist or should be, right? I say most, not all of us, but it doesn't mean we don't work, because most people who work, or a big chunk of people out in the workforce, have a therapist. So just having one and having a diagnosis does not mean you can't work, because most people who have depression, anxiety, a little bit of impulsivity, all that kind of stuff work. So you need to prove that his is far worse. And the history is very helpful, I think. Someone having a spotty work history doesn't prove that they're disabled, because the alternative is they're lazy. But you combine it all, I think that will be a larger, a pretty big crumb of the non-medical evidence, but you still need to have the full medical evidence to show why. But I think it'll help show severity. Do not rely on it entirely. It is a nugget. It is a crumb. All right. Anyway, Trish, I hope that helped. And I think I appreciate you for sticking by your man. Good times and bad, right? That's what they say. That's what we vowed to do. So I appreciate that. And I know it's not easy on you. So anyway, it's Good Friday, guys. It's I don't know when you'll see this, but it's a meaningful day. I've learned to consider the meaning of it in my latter years that I probably blew off a little superficially when I was younger. But you want to talk about sacrificing for others, there's a big one, Good Friday. But we all, or most of us that care, do it in different ways on a smaller magnitude, like sticking with family, um, supporting those that are trying to help themselves, even if they have trouble. So I appreciate that. And anyway, happy Easter, everybody. God bless. And hope to see you at the 12 o'clock reported dailies. The channel really, really appreciates your support because it helps our 1%, 5% mission. And of course, coming to our live stream is always it's a fun few hours of SSD battle and questions and answers answered live. As you might know, last 2 days ago, we had Shanna Justice join me, so that was fun. I'm usually solo, but occasionally I'll have Jonathan or Shanna, and that's always fun. So hope you can join us Wednesdays at 1 p.m. For that, you can ask questions or just say hi so I know you're there. Otherwise, I won't know you're there, and I appreciate it. Have a good one, guys. Bye-bye.